No screwing around today, friends. Friday in particular has a ridiculously busy streaming schedule, so let's get right into it. This is your Old Man Squad fantasy basketball streaming episode for Thursday, March 6th and Friday, March 7th. I'm Dan Bespris. Let's dive in. Follow on Twitter at Dan Bespris, Old Man Squad on Blue Sky, Old Man Squad Fantasy over on Instagram, and please make sure to like, rate, and subscribe to the show however you take in the content. Let's begin with a look at tonight. And again, everything we do on this program is going to be sort of doubled up. We talked about Thursday on the second half of yesterday's show. We'll talk about it on the first half of today's. It'll actually be slightly less than half because today is a relatively light streaming day. I want to start with the teams to avoid. I said I was going to flip-flop these, and then I forgot to do so. Whoopsies. Washington is the team to avoid right now. The Wizards have a one-game in 4-day stretch that starts today. They played yesterday. They play again on Saturday, so they're even off tomorrow. They're off today. They're off tomorrow. And then they're off again on Sunday before the Wizards move back into a better schedule starting on Monday of next week. But this has been a light stretch for them overall. They've only had, when this is all said and done, they'll have had 5 games over 13 days. So then the schedule picks up a little bit because if you're going to go 5 over 13, you're going to have to go heavier than that over the next 13. But again, like with all the streamers out there right now, Koulibaly, Bub Carrington, Alex Sarr, even these days. I know Rashawn Holmes missed the last one, but like there's really no way to justify holding a lot of these guys when they only have one game over 4 days. And when you can find a team that has 3 games over those same 4 days, you can upgrade by 2 games. There's almost no one on the Wizards that can do in one game what even a streaming level guy on the New Orleans Pelicans can do in 3. That's the thing you want to think about here. Anytime you can add 2 games over whatever the streaming distance is, preferably more than 2 days in a row because you'll run out of moves way too fast, you generally want to go to the spot where you get the 2 extra games. And strategically, before we even get into the names on today's show, strategically, you should have probably used at least half of your weekly moves by today, and I would kind of expect you to use the rest up by tomorrow. Like, I don't think you really need to take a move into Saturday or Sunday of this week. You could. I mean, if you're really in the driver's seat, you could try to hang on a little bit longer, but I don't think you need to. Other team of note is the New York Knicks. I don't like them because they've got a back-to-back today and tomorrow in LA against the Lakers and then the Clippers, but then they're off for 2 days, and it starts a stretch for New York where they only play twice, including once on a very busy Monday coming up over 7 days after this back-to-back. So if you pick up a Knickerbocker, you have to dump them on Saturday, and you frankly used moves too quickly there. What about players to look at? If you missed yesterday's show, this is the same list. I haven't made any adjustments to it. I will note, however, if we're starting with New York, Precious Achiuwa is questionable for the game in Los Angeles tonight. So if you were thinking about going the New York and then get the hell out of New York route, that would be something to give you a little bit of pause. You could look at Mitchell Robinson, who may or may not play in the back-to-back, so probably no. Miles McBride ends up being the only name left on the board, who probably will log something like 50 to 55 minutes over these 2 games. But will he do much with them? I don't know. And again, you have to use another move on Saturday, which sucks. I don't want to have to use another move 2 days later. It's a waste, especially if someone on your team gets hurt. You need to have those moves available for when someone gets hurt or for long streaming. So New Orleans is the team you target. Kelly Olynyk is a super interesting name, but he probably sits one of the back-to-back for the Pels. The nice thing is he's going to be good enough in the 2 games he does play that might be enough to match 1 game of a Washington Wizard or possibly better. The dilemma you run into now is, are the other names on the Pelicans in 3 games better than Olynyk in 2? So the names you're looking at there are Jordan Hawkins, who probably ends up playing somewhere in the neighborhood about 70-ish minutes over these 3 games. He's a pretty good stream for threes and points over that stretch, but more than likely, Olynyk beats him in rebounds and percentages, and defensive stats are probably pretty tight. Jose Alvarado is a marginal name. He probably plays about 60 minutes over these 3 games. Not a bad assists and steals stream. Yves Missi is actually a relatively solid one. He's probably my second choice to Olynyk. likely plays in all 3 games. Actually, I thought was Missi a game time decision as well? Let me double check myself on that. No, he's upgraded. He's ready to go. He's been playing around 26-ish minutes a game, so you're looking at closer to 80 minutes for Missi over 3 days, or 3 games rather, in 4 days. And typically in 3 games, he'll get you about 23 to 25 rebounds. He'll get you somewhere in that same neighborhood, actually, in points, probably about 25, 26, 27 points. 2 or 3 assists. Don't expect too much there, but a really nice shot over 3 days of getting you about 2 steals and 3 or 4 blocks, what we've seen over the year. So a very good boards, defensive stats, and field goal percent streamer that in 3 days might outperform Kelly Olynyk, who I think in 2 games probably beats him in scoring, definitely beats him in assists, and is certainly better at percentages. But now you're kind of just battling between which things your team needs. So go team needs on that. Bruce Brown is kind of like if you went Terrence Mann with the last time I talked about this type of stream. You're going to get a couple of each thing, but there's almost no upside there. And then Karlo Matkovic is the dice roll on this team because he might get a start somewhere in these 3 games. I don't know, but the last time he started at Phoenix on the 27th of February, he had 17 and 10 with 3 threes. I really don't know. I mean, that's a huge dice roll. You might get nothing. Like, he hasn't started in his last 3 games, and he has a total production of 60 minutes over that stretch, 14 rebounds, 5 assists, and 13 points. Yee. That's bad. 3 blocks. At least he has 3 blocks over those 3 games. So I likely steering away from Matkovic because I'd like to take someone that I have a little more faith is going to be able to hang in there. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in 2025. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, BetOnline is your ultimate game day companion. Hey, folks, remember to subscribe. With the largest selection of odds on everything from the NBA to college basketball to the NHL and UFC, BetOnline continues to be your number one sports betting source, covering you with odds and stats and more on every game, every play, and every win. BetOnline, the game starts here. Before I flip the page to Friday, or I can even flip the page, but before I talk about the insanity that's coming up on Friday, look at that. That's absurd. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams that have good schedules. Quick reminder, I'm Dan Besbris, at Dan Besbris on Twitter, DanBesbris, Old Man Squad on the Blue Sky Network. But most importantly, please subscribe. We're going to be doing these streaming episodes every day, or that's the goal, over the season's final 42 days. Today is day 4. We got a long way to go. Today's day 4. I'm going to try to do it including weekends. I'm hoping to do one every single weekend day. If I can't get one done, and I know I'm not going to be able to get it done, I'll cover it on the streaming episode before that. Like, because every day we're doing 2 days worth of streams, because some of you have to do fab budgets. Some of you are in leagues where it's a day before moves. I hate that for head-to-head. I think head-to-head really needs to be day of, because so many guys get ruled out at the last minute. And we've talked about use your moves close to tip time in your games. You don't want to pick up a guy that gets ruled out. That's the worst feeling right now, and it could be the thing that ends your season if you have to blow a move and get nothing out of it. That's effectively what that ends up being. So please subscribe. We're going to have this going all the time. I still have the recap shows as well, so we're trying to do 2 a days pretty much for the duration. Okay, so here's what I've done with Friday. First of all, let's just talk about all the teams that have good schedules right now. Whoops, that's not what I wanted. Just bouncing my face around the screen. We're going to talk about all the teams that have good schedules, and then we're going to talk about the players. And I've tried to pare it down. Believe it or not, you're going to see the list, and you're going to be like, this is a pared down list. But because there are so many options, you don't have to deep dive it as much because there's just a crap ton of guys out there that have good schedules. The best schedules right now the best single schedule belongs to the Toronto Raptors. They're just like inches ahead of some of the other teams on this list, but the Raptors have a back-to-back Friday, Saturday, and that rolls into 7 games in 11 days. So if you could find someone on the Raptors, which, spoiler alert, you can't really, that would last you 11 days. If there's nobody on the Raptors you want, the next best is probably the Charlotte Hornets because they do have a back-to-back, but their schedule doesn't extend beyond 4 games in 6 days. They have 3 and 4 and 4 and 6. but there isn't like a 6 games in 9 days stretch, and there isn't a 7 games in 11 days stretch. So if you're looking for the longest of streams, Charlotte isn't that, but at least they start you with a Friday, Saturday back-to-back. So it affords you the opportunity to unload your Hornet on Sunday or on Tuesday of next week or whatever. They're just sort of like, you don't have to wait as you do with every other team on the docket. So those two, Toronto and Charlotte, are the only teams that have back-to-backs Friday, Saturday. But there are other teams out there that have way better streaming options that just don't have the back-to-back at the very front end of this. Those teams are Denver, Memphis, and San Antonio. Those clubs play 3 games in 4 nights and then roll right into a 5 games in 7-day stretch after that. So they have a game on Friday, they're off on Saturday, and then it's 5 games in 7 starting on Sunday. It's 3 teams that all start a 5 game in 7 span starting on Sunday, which seems crazy, I know, but it's a really heavy part of the schedule. That was Denver, that was Memphis, and that was San Antonio. Next tier down for me would probably be Utah. The problem there, of course, and Phoenix. Sorry, Utah and Phoenix, they both go 3 times in 4 nights, 4 times in 6 nights, and they play 7 times in 11 days because they have a couple of back-to-backs, just not at the front end. Their back-to-backs are a little farther out than the Denver, Memphis, San Antonio back-to-back. So instead of having a 5 and 7 that starts on Sunday, those teams have a 6 in 9 that starts on Sunday with the 1 extra game on Friday, if that makes sense. And then the only teams I don't think I mentioned yet are Dallas. They go 3 times in 4 days and 4 times in 6 nights. Oklahoma City, same thing. Portland, same thing. I bring those up because, again, some of these teams actually have really good streaming options. Okay, let's do our best to move through this kind of quickly. It's teams to avoid. Sorry, teams to avoid on Friday. Not really anybody. Philadelphia would be the closest to an avoid team because they're off Friday, Saturday, but then they roll into a stretch where they have 6 games over 9 days. So you don't lose all that much. The only thing is, like, it's the only team, if you're looking at Friday, it's the only team that doesn't play for 2 consecutive days. But it's iffy. So there really almost isn't anybody that's a must-avoid team on Friday. Okay, the players to target are 2 pages long. I'm sorry. There were 10 teams. But I've shortened the list for the teams because, again, there should be a lot of options. Let's go through a kind of lightning round mode. Charlotte, which, as we talked about, they have a really good schedule. Nick Smith Jr., if you want to stream points, he'll give you a lot of those. Yusuf Nurkic will give you a smattering of boards, assists, steals, and blocks because you know Mark Williams is going to sit out at least a couple of games during that stretch. Dallas is interesting because they had their whole team go down to injury. So you have 3 guys that you could probably hold the rest of the damn season. Najee Marshall, Klay Thompson, and Max Christie. Spencer Dinwiddie is the other streaming option I would target here, who should give you decent points but better assists. That's probably kind of an assist stream. For Denver, Russell Westbrook is your stream right now while Aaron Gordon is out. He'll be good enough when Gordon comes back to be a head-to-head schedule play, but in the short term, he's better than that while Gordon is out. For the Grizzlies, you've got JJJ on the shelf for multiple weeks. So a couple of names popped up we just talked about on our morning recap show. Zach Edey and Brandon Clark. I think you can stream both of those guys for a really nice dose of boards and field goal percent. And I'm guessing that Brandon Clark is probably a free agent in your league. People have not been exactly fast to pick him up. Edey might be rostered already for you. So again, choosing between the two, you're going to get roughly the same thing from both, maybe just a tiny bit more out of Edey. But either way, with Memphis's good schedule and a clear path for someone to pick up center minutes, that's a nice spot for those guys. And then Luke Kennard for 3s and assists, because I think Ja Morant's going to sit out a few of these games. Kennard's not going to be very good when Ja plays, but you might get some Bane rest games in there as well. I think there should be just enough for Kennard to justify the, what do we say the long stream was for Memphis? They have a bunch of games coming up. They're a 6 out of 9, right? Wasn't Memphis a 6 out of 9? Yeah, because they start a 5 and 7 on Sunday. I mean, technically, they're also a 7 out of 11, but you don't have to wait as long to get it. So that's a win. Oklahoma City, Aaron Wiggins. This is a shorter stream. They had one of the schedules that wasn't quite as robust. Points and field goal percent and free throw percent. Wiggins is a scoring efficiency stream. And then Cason Wallace, if you wanted to pick up a few steals. Let's go to the last 5 teams on our board. Starts with Phoenix. Nick Richards is a streamer. He's probably rostered in your league, but that dude is a streamer. And if he's out there, boards and field goal percent is a pretty good attack point for him. Tyus Jones, I think, is going to be a really good stream, actually. And he's flying under the radar right now because Phoenix has been off. Well, by the time their good schedule rolls around here on Friday, or really Sunday, honestly, they'll have been off and in kind of a low tide. They had 2 games over 6 days leading up to this Phoenix scheduling burst, and Bradley Beal got hurt in their last ball game. And we assume that means Beal's going to miss a few days. So I actually think Tyus Jones could sneaky be one of the best streamers floating around out there. Don't let him slip by if you need assists and some steals on very low turnovers. He's a really nice combo guy there who won't hurt you in turnovers, but he can get you some of that other stuff. Royce O'Neal and Grayson Allen are sort of my lower priority streams in Phoenix. But again, if Beal is out, those guys get a little bit of a kick. O'Neal would be for threes and boards. Grayson Allen would be for threes and percentages. Portland, I don't know that there's a streamer available in your league. I mean, I would look at Scoot if he's out there, Shaedon Sharpe, Toumani Camara, Donovan Clingan. But these guys are pretty heavily rostered, and I don't know that I'd go beyond them. If you wanted to get crazy, and I guess I could write it while we're talking right now, Jabari Walker would be the other one. He's points and boards, but it's a pretty light helping of those unless Clingan has a crapper game. San Antonio has 4 names. None of them is all that great, but each of them is perfectly viable in this exact kind of spot. Julian Champagnie for free throw percent and steals. Keldon Johnson for points and boards. For Jeremy Sohan for boards, assists, and steals. Bismack Biyombo for boards, blocks, and field goal percent. None of them is super trustworthy, but all of them is trustworthy enough, with maybe the exception of Biyombo, because he might just disappear for a game or 2. But the other 3 of those guys, they're going to play 20-some-odd minutes, so it's going to be fine in all of their games, which makes them, actually, in my eyes, some of my favorite streamers, because I love having a good idea of what a guy's going to give when there isn't that big swing. Toronto, there's nobody, because other than the 4 main dudes on that team, they're absolutely terrible. Plus, Ochai Agbaji is without a timetable for return. Jonathan Mobo is out with a nasal fracture. So I guess maybe does that open up enough for Chris Boucher? I mean, he's barely playing. He's gotten DNPs for the last 3 games in a row since Jakob Poeltl came back. Like, if you want to see a team where the streaming options are painfully light, Toronto is that team. In their last ball game, AJ Lawson logged 26 minutes. Jacoby Walter logged 28. Jamal Shed played 22. Orlando Robinson played 24. I guess with Mobo out, Robinson probably gets 20-some-odd minutes, but is he worth even you're dumpster diving here. Jacoby Walter is probably the closest one you'd go to, but we don't even really know enough about his fantasy profile to say what he'd give you. He's averaging 20 minutes a game this year. It just hasn't been that many games. Now, if you look at some of the recent performances, what can we say he does? Free throw percent? I don't know. I don't think I'm going down that path. Utah, the only Jazz, so there are a lot of Jazz that profile as streamers, but if they bring their varsity guys back in for any of these ball games, those dudes completely disappear. So you're looking at probably, and again, remember, I pared this down a little bit. If you're going to yell at me that maybe I should have put Johnny Juzang on the board, I mean, crap, maybe you're right. But prior to his explosion yesterday, Juzang had done nothing with 16 to 20 minutes a ball game. Literally nothing. So the Jazz that I'm considering are Kyle Filipowski, who I think is going to be very good when Walker Kessler's out and barely serviceable when he's not. You sort of roll that all together. You can get some points, boards, and threes. And Bryce Sensabaugh, who should see enough shots to give you a point stream. He reminds me an awful lot of, don't want to go Nick Smith Jr. in Charlotte? Take this other guy who's Nick Smith Jr., but with the name Bryce Sensabaugh out in Utah. That is your 10 frickin' team. Good Lord. Oh, my God. Friday. I want to show you guys what's going on over at underdogfantasy.com. So let me pull up the screen right now because we're going to do a little promo for them. and they earned it because we've got this Luka Doncic discount thing. If you watch my recap show, you have to go to their Twitter feed. Underdog, what is their NBA? It's Underdog_NBA. And early this morning, they tweeted out a link to a Google form for a Luka discount promo. You just have to put in your username, and if it matches what they have on file, they'll send you a special coupon code for today, which this one is, what is the discount token? The discount token gives you the ability to change any one projection for a single player by 20%. So we can, if it doesn't have to be Luka, it's just in honor of Luka. I'm definitely going to use it. And then the question is, who are we going to use it to? Well, they're going to let us use it on Luka. So we'll take higher than 36.5 PRA. I'm going to put that on our board. And they're letting you max out at a $10 play because it is making this one particular one a whole hell of a lot easier. But now we got to find one other one that we're going to put in our mix. What did I talk about earlier today on the morning show? I think it was it Philly Boston? I was looking at Kelly Oubre possibly higher on PRA, 25.5. Who the hell else is going to do it? Is PG going to play? I didn't think so. I like to get in on Oubre. It's a $10 max. I'm a wimp. Because what if I miss? We'll go 5. So we'll play that one for 5. Luka Doncic with the coupon. Oh, no, something went wrong. We'll have to do it again. Anyway, you guys can trust me. I'm going to put this one in. Come hang out with us. Or did it work, actually? Oh, it worked. All right. So that one's in. It's a Luka Doncic over with their coupon code, and it's a Kelly Oubre higher on the PRA at UnderdogFantasy.com. Sign up today with our promo code. It's OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or click the link. It's got the referral code built in there. Not only can you get the Luka promo code if you do their little thing on Twitter, but you get up to $1,000 on deposit match bonus cash, and you can unlock a true free play, which that one you could just make Luka score 1 point and it counts. But you can choose when you want to use these things. I would strongly recommend getting a feel for how the game goes and then dropping them in. Again, you just need to pick 2. It's been a lot of fun. I've been trying to do it almost every day, and we've worked our way all the way back to break even after starting very slowly. My learning curve. If I didn't have the learning curve, we'd be up. Anyway, I go small because I want to make it last because I'm having fun. I'm not trying to get rich quick or anything, but that's UnderdogFantasy.com. Hang out with them today, and we'll all have a blast. Thanks for watching the streaming show. I'm sorry this one went a little bit longer, but there were just too many damn teams on Friday. Back with you again tomorrow. We'll cover the Friday and then the Saturday card. And because I don't know if we're going to have time to do a streaming show on Saturday, we might just cover the Sunday card as well. You'll find out when we get there. Hit that subscribe button, rate and review, hit that like button. Comments are open. I'll see you guys on social media. I'm Dan for Old Man Squad. I'm out.